The biggest fear most people have isn't failure. It's the unknown. How long will it take before the business is profitable? Am I going to run out of money before I figure it out? Now, we've helped almost 35,000 people become business owners, and here's the truth. Most businesses don't outperform projections. They actually underperform them, at least at first. And that's not necessarily because they're bad businesses. It's because every new owner has a learning curve. You are going to discover things you couldn't have known until you were in it. It's kind of like a remodel project. You can expect it to take longer and cost more than you planned. And that's why the goal isn't a perfect plan, it's time. The longer the runway, the greater the odds of a successful takeoff. So, how do you buy yourself that time? I've actually built this framework I call extending the runway that I found helpful with clients. It has two main levers: reducing burn and increasing capital. And each has a number of different strategies that you can use to stretch your timeline and increase your chances of success. So I'll walk you through it at a high level here. Let's start with reducing burn, because there are two ways to reduce burn. One is on the personal side and one's on the business side. Now, on the personal side, every dollar you pull from the business shortens your runway. I remember asking our senior director of payroll once if he noticed any patterns among clients who were most at risk of shutting down. And his answer was the vast majority were single employee businesses who were paying themselves a salary right out of the gate. That makes sense to me because in the early stages of a business, cash is fragile. The less you draw from the business, the better your odds. And that might mean keeping corporate health insurance a little longer, delaying big purchases, maybe tightening lifestyle expenses for a season. These don't have to be forever sacrifices, but they can buy you the time you need to stabilize and scale. Now, on the business side, the principle's the same. Cash preserved is runway extended. So can you lease equipment instead of buying? Can you delay moving into a big office or maybe start smaller, maybe even from home? Can you negotiate better vendor terms, hold off on new hires, or prioritize products or services that generate quick cash? Every move that lowers your burn stretches the time you have to get the business dialed in. Okay, so now let's talk about the increasing capital side. Savings and loans are the obvious tools, but there are others worth considering. We've helped tens of thousands of people, for example, use Rob's plans to access retirement funds without taxes or penalties. But SBA loans, seller financing, those are both great opportunities and ways that you can preserve more of your cash. And these tools can actually be layered together to create even more breathing room than you think you'll need. In fact, I recently spoke with a client who had secured equipment financing right before opening. He had started his build out. It ended up costing a lot more than he expected. And he decided, just to be safe, I'm going to go out and get an equipment loan on some of this equipment that he had to bring in. Well, a week after opening, he had a major plumbing issue. Those extra cash reserves actually saved his business. Now, another way to increase capital is to create liquidity. So the idea behind liquidity is this is money you may or may not use, but that you have access to. So one simple and obvious move is to get a home equity line of credit. Well, why? Because it's flexible. You only pay if you use it, and it comes with better rates than a business loan, always. So just remember, if you intend to leave your corporate job to start or buy a business, go get the HELOC before you quit. Otherwise, a bank is very unlikely to loan you money until you have at least a couple years of proven income in your new business. This happens more than you would think. So hopefully you all take that into consideration. Whole life insurance policies or stock portfolios are also underappreciated assets that you can leverage and that they can actually work similar to a HELOC. So there are financial institutions out there that will lend you money secured by the value of these assets. So they'll lend you money and secure it by the cash value of your life insurance or by a percentage of the value of your stock portfolio. And these are really great strategies because they can give you liquidity without the need to park your cash in a checking account or to liquidate your assets. And for some people, that's really important. For example, if you have to go liquidate your stock portfolio, my guess is you're going to have some gains in there you're going to have to pay taxes on. Well, if you use a stock portfolio loan, you don't have to do that. You're just going to go borrow it. Now you've got this borrowed money that potentially you can write the interest off for your business. Now, the point is, when it comes to liquidity, is to build optionality so you're never cornered. Now, if you want to stack the odds in your favor, it makes sense to look at all four of these areas: reducing personal expenses, keeping business expenses flexible, securing more capital than you think you need, and lining up backup liquidity just in case. Businesses rarely fail for lack of ideas. They almost always fail when they run out of cash, when the runway ends before the plane has had enough time to build up speed to get in the air. Now, there are no guarantees in business, but there are most certainly probabilities. So if you're going to invest the time and effort and resources to start or buy a business, it makes sense to give yourself the best chance to succeed. And you can do that by building a financial plan that gives you the maximum time to learn the business and reach consistent profitability. Now, I did put together a quick checklist that can help you uncover some of these ways that you may be able to extend your runway. You can check out a link to that in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, please like it and share it with someone else who you think might find it helpful. Oh, and by the way, I answer questions like this one every week. Questions like, how do I create a financial runway for the transition to business ownership? So if you do have a question that is just burning a hole in your psyche as it relates to business ownership and getting started, send me an email at jeremy@jeremyames.com, and maybe my next video will be on that. So until next time, cheers.